Hello everyone, this is Professor Robert Solis. Welcome to this video lesson. We're going to be talking about arrays in the C++ language. So let me switch over first to my drawing application so that I can show you how you will think about arrays. Arrays are nothing more than a collection, and you can think of them as a row of numbers like this, or as a column of numbers like this. Actually, I shouldn't even say a column of numbers because it could be a column or a row of characters or strings or Boolean values or whole numbers or real numbers. They're basically a collection. So say, for example, that I want to write some items within this array. So I'll put the number 3, 1, -4, and say, for example, 0 and 9. Well, first of all, this array is a collection of 5 whole numbers. You can see here that the first one, which we call index 0, is 3. The second one, which is index 1, is 1. The third one, which is index 2, is -4. So when it comes to the index, sometimes people also call this the subscript. You start counting from 0. It's as if you are going to be racing on a slot car, right? So my son and I, we love racing slot cars. He's a little boy, right? So we are about to finish the first lap, and then the second lap, and the third lap. So what do we need? We need some sort of a counter, right? And so what do? We start off the counter. So here's my counter, and then he's got a counter over here, and we start him off at 0. And then after we finish the first lap, then this will increment to 1, and then this will increment to 2, so forth and so on. So we start counting from zeros, right? Computer scientists love to count starting from 0. All right, so these are indices or subscripts. And so the first element is index 0. The second element is index 1, so forth and so on. All right, so if I said, what is the size of the array, you can take a look at the last index, add 1 to it, and that's the size of the array. In this case, it's the size of 5 whole numbers. Now, it doesn't have to be whole numbers. It can be anything. It could be a collection of doubles or strings or Boolean, say, for example. But they all have to be the same value. So it's inappropriate for me to make this a 3 and for me to make this a 1.4. Can't do that. They're either all whole numbers, or they are all doubles, or they are all whatever the data type is. Okay, so that's really what an array is. It's just simply a collection of things. If I said, let's get a collection of shoe boxes, so guess what's in those boxes? Shoes. Hey, let's get a collection of tissue boxes. Guess what's in those boxes? Tissues, right? So that's what this is. All right, so let me switch back over here to Visual Studio now, and I want to show you a sample application that I've created. What we're going to do first is to create a constant that represents the size of the array. So typically, outside of the main program, as you can see as a global declaration, I'm creating a constant. This is going to be an integer. We're going to call this array size, and I'm going to give it the initial size of 5. All right, now notice all of the letters are capitalized because that's what we do with constants. The convention is to capitalize all of the letters. It just tells other programmers, this must be a constant. That's exactly what we're doing. We're going to create an array of size 5. The nice thing about doing this is when we declare the array, if in the future you decide to create an array size of 10, 15, or whatever the number is, all you have to do is just change it over here, and the size will propagate for the rest of the program. All right, so in our main program, notice now we're going to declare an array. So in this case, the name of the array is taxes. It is going to hold a bunch of doubles. Namely, it's going to hold 5 of them, as you can see over here. Okay, so if I wanted to create 10, I just simply double click over here, change that to a 10, or change that to a 3, or whatever the number is. Instead of putting the number 5 here, you don't want to do that. That's hard coding, and that can get you into trouble later on. Better thing to do is just to go ahead and create a constant and let that constant represent what the size of the array is. Okay, so since the size of the array is 5, that means that taxes 0 is the first index, and taxes 4 will be the 5th element. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to obtain input from the user and place the data into this taxes array. Now, I could do that here at declaration. I could do something like this. I could say with the equal symbol, which is the assignment statement, open and close curly bracket, and I'm put a semicolon. Let me go back over here and put in 1, 5, 3, 2, 3 rather, and 9. Now, the reason why I'm putting them out of order is I want you to not think that they have to be in order. These numbers do not have to be in order. We don't have to have this 2, 3, 4, 5. That's not the case. These numbers can be in any order. So let me go ahead and put them in any order, something like that. Okay. So here's a collection of 5 integers. Let me change those to doubles now. So let me see, like 0.1. Over here we'll say 0.8, 0.3, 3.9, and over here we'll just say 9.0. Okay. So here we have 5 real numbers. And what I've done here in this particular statement is I've declared, that's this part over here, and initialized, that's this part over here. In other words, I've given the array the 5 initial values for each of those different locations that we were showing over here in my drawing program. Each of these different locations right here, or over here if you want to think about it horizontally, has a value in it. So you can do something like this, and that's perfectly acceptable. What if you did, well actually, you know what, why don't I do this? Let me stop the program right here so that I can show you what it looks like. So let me save my program, let me run it. Give it a second to compile. Okay, we've stopped the program right here. And I don't need properties here. I want to take a look at what taxes looks like. So here's my autos panel, and you can see all of the different values in here. Now, you'll see that there are random values in here because I haven't assigned anything yet to taxes array. I've declared it, but no values have been assigned to it. So what it does is it just takes whatever random value happens to be in memory during the startup of your program. So this is what's currently in there. Now I'm going to step over this statement to actually execute it. So I'll go over here to step over, and now you'll see that we have values. So the first value for 0, or I'm sorry, for index 0, that is 5.09. Now that's just the way that real numbers are stored sometimes in your CPU. This can lead to an error, and later on we'll deal with how do you deal with stuff like that. But you can see that 2.8 is being represented here as 2.79, 3.3 is being represented as 3.8999, so forth and so on. But for all intents and purposes, what I'm trying to demonstrate is that these numbers are now being stored in these various items within the array, or the various indices within the array. Okay, so now that you've seen that, let me show you some other stuff. So let me stop the program, and I'm still going to stop the program here, or break the program here, but I only want to assign this first value. So let me give that a value of 5.0. Now, only the first index has 5.0. So back in my program over here, actually this one's 3, so let me just change it to 3 so I can represent something like this. All right, so this first, or this 0 index has a 3, just like this, but I haven't assigned the rest of them. What will happen? Well, let's see what happens. Let me run the program, and we're going to stop the program right here. So let me open up taxes, and as you can see over here, we have random values. We've already seen that. Now I'm going to step over, so it'll assign 3 to index 0. So I step over. Sure enough, 3 is assigned to index 0, but look what everything else is assigned, 0. Okay, so if you give some initial value to one of the indices and you don't assign everything else, zeros are automatically placed in the rest of the indices. All right, just something for you to know. All right, so let me take this off, and I don't want to give any initial values. So in fact, what I'm going to do is this. Oh, wait a minute. There's one more thing I should really describe to you. Let's say that this is 3.0, 1.0, 4.0, 9.0, and 5.0. And I'll close that with a curly bracket. And I do not give this a size. Okay, and I'm going to stop the program right here. This is another way that you can declare and initialize arrays. Notice that I did not give it a size, but because within closed curly braces, I've given it 5 values, then by default, the taxes array is going to be declared as an array that holds 5 items. So let's see what happens. Let me run the program. And over here, I have taxes, so I'm going to open it up, and notice over here I have from 0 to 5. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to step over, and notice that these values have been given. So 3.0, say for example, that's in index 0. 1.0, that's going to be in index 1, so forth and so on. Now over here, oh, I see, I made a mistake. Instead of putting a period, I put comma. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 values, and that's why you see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. From 0 to 5, that's a total of 6 values. I made a mistake over here, and so that's why that 0 is represented over here, the 4.0 is represented next, so forth and so on. So this is another way. Let me stop this program. This is another way to declare arrays, not giving it a size and just simply giving it the number of values that it's going to contain, and that will determine what the size is. So let me Control Z to undo. Let me just undo all this stuff over here. All I want is just this part right here. So I'm declaring the taxes array, I'm giving it what its initial size is, and now instead of putting values initially in here, I want to ask the user for the values that I'm going to be placing into the array. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use a for loop, and so the for loop is going to start at index 0, and it's going to go all the way up to, but not including the array size, because remember, if the array size is 5, that means we go from 0 to 4 in terms of the index. So this thing is going to count from 0 to 4. And what I'll do is I'll say enter text value 1, because this will be 0 initially, right? Counter is equal to 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. So this will say enter text value 1, and then the user will enter the tax value, and we'll put that into taxes 0. And then we'll go over here. Counter will now be 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2, so it will say enter tax value 2. Now counter is 1, so it'll put the value into taxes 1, and so forth and so on. And then what we're going to do is we're going to output the values that were entered into the array. So what I'm doing here is I'm declaring within a for statement, the counter is going to be equal to 0 or sign 0, as long as this is less than the array size, which is 5, which means we're going to go from 0 to 4, because we're adding 1 by 1. What I'm going to do is output to the display the tax value for 0, and then 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then finally 4, with spaces in between. Okay, so let me run the program first, and then I'll stop it so we can take a look at it step by step. So at first, it says enter tax value 1. Okay, so let me just say 0.15, so that's 15%, and another tax rate is 28%, and this one over here we'll say is 10%, and then this one over here we'll say this is 33%. And let's say, for example, that I have 90%, 97%. Wow, that's pretty high tax value. Let's see here. Let me enter. Okay, so we see over here that it's displayed the values in a single row with spaces in between. Press any key to continue. All right, so now let's stop the program so we can investigate what's going to happen. All right, run the program again. All right, we're stopping right here. Notice that the value of counter is going to be assigned 0. So let me go over here. Is 0 less than the array size? Yes, it is. All right, enter tax value. As you can see, the counter is equal to 0. 0 plus 1 is 1, so it should say enter tax value 1 with a colon after it and a space, and then it's going to wait for me to enter the value of the tax. Now over here, in terms of the value of tax, let's see here. It looks like it's just a random value over here in 0. All of them have random values because nothing has been assigned yet to this array. It's just declared, but there's no value or no assigned value in it. All right, so let me go ahead and step over, and now we've displayed this. Let me step over so I can actually read the value. So let's say that I'm going to put 0.33. Okay, enter. Now let me go back over here, and you'll notice now that in taxes, 0.33 has been entered into the 0 index of the array. And so now we're going to get ready to go to the next iteration. So I step over. Now here we are at the top, and counter was 0. Now it's going to be 1. So if I step, you'll see over here the counter is now 1. And so is 1 less than the array size? Yes, it is. 1 is less than 5. So therefore we go into the for statement and we do this again. Counter is 1, 1 plus 1 is 2, so it should say enter taxed value 2 with a colon, and then it's going to ask the user, or wait for the user to enter in a value into that index 1. So I'll do this one more time. And we're back over here, enter tax value 2. So here I'll say 0.55, say for example. Enter. Come back over here, and now you'll notice that under taxes, I have 0.55. Now I haven't assigned the rest of the items yet. Those have random values, but eventually they will be assigned values. Okay, so I'm going to break the code here now, and I'll just go ahead and continue until I get to this next section over here. All right, so we continue. Let's see here. How about 0.22, enter 0.99, enter 0.77, say for example. All right, so I've entered values into the array. In fact, if I were to look at the array, and let me click this guy over here, all of these values are the values that I've entered. All right, so now let's display those values. Well, I declared counter, but it was a local declaration inside of this for statement. If I want to counter again, I'm going to have to redeclare it and initialize it. So that's what I'm about to do here. So counter is about to be declared and assigned 0. And is 0 less than the array size? Yes, it is. So therefore, we enter into the for statement. And what are we doing? We're going to take taxes, and we're specifically going to take that 0 index. So what is taxes 0? Looks like taxes 0 is 0.33. So 0.33 is about to be displayed and also a space. So let me do this. And let me switch over here to the output, and there's the 0.33 in the space. Okay, so now let me go back over here. We're going to the top of the for statement. Counter is about to be incremented, and it now is 1. Is 1 less than the array size? Yes, it is. So we go into the for statement, and we do this over and over and over again. All right, so let me take off the break. Let me just go ahead and continue. And as you can see, we display the rest of the tax values that are inside of this single dimensional array. And that is it. So this is Professor Robert Solis. I hope this video lesson was helpful. Have a good day. See you next time.